this many. And the last week there'll be like 8 people. Fascinating. Why do you think that is?
They figure you out.
They figured me out. I'm not Jordan. There's a, you figured me out in week 1. Yeah, I hope. That you're smarter than me. Why do you think there's only 8? They don't care. What do you care? What would the most people care about in college? Sleep. You pay that much money to go and sleep. If you were homeless, I guarantee you could sleep all you want. I went to New York City. I saw all these people in Central Park. It's just a beautiful park. You sleep all day long. You do not have to pay this much money. So why do people pay so much money to not come to class? What am I missing?
Take advantage of the watching the classroom website.
Oh yeah, we're streaming right now. I got a better setup too, better angles. Makes me look a little bit thinner. But I hope that they take advantage of that. I don't think it occurred to my other schools though.
Do you saw someone watching that?
Yeah, I think so. I remember I've never checked because I'm so focused on it. But when I watched a guy jump from outer space for Red Bull, you know, remember that? Yeah. You can see how many people were watching that. It's the same setup, minus the sweet cameras, parachute, and station. Yeah, I just think sometimes people just get a little bit too lost soul. That prioritize on sleep over class. Only 2.5 hours. I mentioned to somebody, I drove 2.5 hours to get here. 2.5 hours is nothing when you're old. But, you know, a day is nothing. But, what was I going to say? Okay. Something about how important this class is. Oh yeah. When I was in college, I would stay up all night, get very sleepy the next day, but I always go. I think you get something out of going. You know? You just stay home and play video games or whatever. You can do that when you're retired. Or when you're retired, it's more fun. Have you ever been to a senior center or watched elderly people play Wii bowling? You'll get the smiles on their face. Well, I hope that you get something out of this class. I think it's. I explained to someone at my other job today. It is psychologically difficult to be a professor. Put your heart and soul in it, and then only 8 people show up at the last class. I worked a lot on the material. It's not for the money, as I mentioned last week. But the first 2 weeks, I noticed, are pretty out there, philosophical, theoretical material. So you come class the first 2 weeks, I think, kind of trying to become acquainted to your surroundings, and then you get the actually heaviest part of the material. So it might fly over your head, and I think maybe I could adjust my teaching plan a little bit better that way. Kind of tiptoeing, a little bit softer, maybe you're not ready for such material. If you read the blog, I think you probably know what I'm talking about. It's a little bit out there. But then it comes together later in the semester. It becomes a lot more practical. Like I said last week, you can write on anything you want. So I really want you to pick the most important thing to you and write about that. That's also why I don't understand why people don't get to me. Even if it's about, even if you like sleep, you could write about sleep. But nobody wants to come learn about sleep. Do it. We're trying to figure that out. A class where you can do anything you want. People don't teach you anything like that. It's strange. Kind of like America. Theoretically, you can do anything you want. But nobody does. People tend to just get $35,000 a year jobs and coast through life. And go home after work, drink a couple beers till they fall asleep, get up the next day and do it over again. And I don't know, somebody's got us tricked. We might talk about that today. But the first thing that we want to talk about is the schedule. I forgot how much I lose track of the schedule because truthfully I'm so wrapped up in the material. I usually forget where we're at. And sometimes I'll come to class and I know it's small. sometimes I'll come to class and you'll have something due or the next week, and I'll totally forget, so you have to remind me. Which is kind of fun. Students reminding the professor and stuff too. It's a good reversal of roles. We talk about roles in this class. Sociology class is one of the few places where you can actually reverse the roles, and you have the power to determine your future. But I thought about this fact that fifth week is a little bit, this says abstract, be your first writing assignment, due or started. That's kind of late. I'd like to start it a little bit earlier. I'm planning to have a guest speaker next week, either in person or by Skype, who's going to come in and talk to us about publishing. So you probably have noticed that I said last week I get jacked up. I get jacked up for the semester. And so what I've done is I've tried to shape the semester on publishing a book, right? I mentioned that last week. And so it just so happens that I'm acquainted with a publisher. It just so happens. And he was like, yeah, I would like to publish your students' work. And I said, that would be cool. You should come in next week and talk to them. He said, cool. So I'm hoping that he will come and talk to you. He's also a motivational type speaker, so he can give you some insight as to a lot of things, not just publishing. So keep your sights set on publishing your work, actually, for the semester. I think it would be super cool to be published in your first semester. I've never been published. So week 5 for the abstract is a little bit late. Week 2. I'm going to move that up. It might come in next week. The guest speaker will talk to you about writing, hopefully, and we can talk about getting the process started so that maybe we can actually have the abstracts cranked out by week 4. They're not hard. An abstract is a half a page. And then also in week 4, we're going to have the students, if your last name starts with A through C, you're going to present. Who here's last name starts with A, B, or C? A lot. That's good. Start strong. That's good. And the week is doing sociological research methods. And the chapter recommended is chapter 4 in the book. Also, I really strongly encourage you to communicate with me and send me email, ask me questions. I'll help you do the presentation. It's not something you should be nervous about. It's just a chance for you to learn. I think I might have mentioned that students have knocked on me because I say that students teach the course. They'll be like, Gerwood, he just makes the students teach. He doesn't earn his money. I told him how little I get paid. But I think it's pretty important and pretty cool for you to actually teach the class something. I know the materials, so I'm not testing you. I just think it's better to get up and get it out yourself, help you process the knowledge. So we'll start, that'll be in 2 weeks, A, B, and C, and you'll talk about how to do sociological research. We talked a little bit about the scientific method. I can give you a full variety of methods. You can read the chapter 4, you can come together. It's a pretty relaxed environment. You can even bring donuts or whatever your thing is. I recommend fruit, but the problem is it doesn't travel well. You can't bring strawberries or whatever. So whatever you guys can bring. Big brownies or something. So this is the schedule. It remains on the website. I'm going to try to push this stuff up, as I said, and get our abstracts out early. And remember the guest speaker coming next week. So try to come enthusiastic and really engage with him. He's a cool guy, Flintstone. So the presenters also, it will be on this list. It's on the website. So again, if I forget like what week it is, I just kind of expect you to pay attention. So like when I come in, I'll be like, oh yeah, October 29th, students G through L, do your presentation on race and racism, And I would expect that you're ready for that. Like you can even kind of prepare now, just so that when we get to class, we all come with something. I encourage you to think about your utopias over the week. So I kind of expect, it's just one of these ways that I go about teaching is that I just kind of expect that you're paying attention and engaged, and we're all kind of on the same level, on the same page. So when I come to class, I'll kind of expect that you're going to talk about this stuff. It's your weekend, just kind of expect that you're all going to come up here. It's weird that it doesn't always work out like that, but I'm still trying to promote that kind of philosophy. At Saginaw Valley, I shouldn't name them by name, but I'll just like, I'll come in. There'll be some of these presentation week. I'll sit down, be like, whose turn is it? Nobody comes in. Oh, it's so much different from when I was in school. We would be so orderly, you know, like we would fear the presentation week, and then when it was there, we'd get up all nervous. Now it's like people don't even show up. It blows my mind. But there's no points attached to much of what we do, so figuring it out. You got to get past the figure out that there's no points attached to anything. There's not. Figure out that you could still really gain something out of participating. So kind of get to that second level of figuring stuff out, and you'll be a lot better citizen. So the assignments are there. They'll probably move up a little bit. The presenters are there. I'll probably not move up the presenters. They're pretty good weeks. The schedule is there. We'll try to stick to topic. And utopia is not here. Right? We're not in a utopia. Who thinks that we're in a utopia right now? Somebody has to, right? No patriots? Like, you guys love America? What's wrong with America? I think it's just. I thought like 10, 12 people would be like, yeah, America. What's wrong with our country? Why is it not a utopia? Why is it not?
Nothing's good.
What's wrong with it? Why not? I got an awesome life. It's not utopia. Oh yeah. So can you elaborate on that? It's perfect for me. It's not perfect for you all. I love the classroom. I get paid. There's no stress. But what about you guys? I know.
Probably that one person in here probably just like, well, I don't want to listen to that right now. I don't want to sleep.
Yeah, probably more than one. So we talked a little bit about last week. Well, why are you all here? So why does this? Why? Okay, so back to America. America, like we have to all do this. The classroom is a microcosm of a nation. So like, why are we all here when it's not our utopia? Kind of going back to a couple minutes ago, I said like, you can do whatever you want, but nobody ever does. So nobody wants to be here. Why is everybody here?
By coming to class, you can make your own utopia. You don't go to class, you're not going to trade. Kind of screw yourself if you said you speak to people speaking in the car, but that's nobody's utopia, not even you. That'd be something.
So I love that comment. Thank you for mentioning that, and I could go a million different ways on it. So hopefully I remember at least two, maybe one. Let's talk about the people sleeping in the park. How's that not utopia? You don't do anything, you get up, you're like me, maybe you like to get up, have some breakfast, wear your pajamas, go into the park, play frisbee, sleep all day like you all want to sleep. How is that not utopia? Like, how is that not the best thing ever?
For me, I think there's nothing to be proud of. You don't have a nice home to show. You have a public park. You don't have, anything that you can be happy about. It's just, you can physically do whatever you want, but, inside there's nothing there.
So I've got like a very small yard, and the people that live in Central Park have like 2 square miles of beautiful lush greenery.
But it's just given to you. Like your small backyard, you earned it. You worked hard for it. You worked hard to go to school, get a job, pay for the house that has that small backyard. No matter how small it is, you're still going to take pride in it.
Interesting assumptions. I could also talk about those.
Even not having material possessions, or even if they do have these, acres of land or whatever, it's also like they don't have their humanity. There's plenty of people who don't see homeless people, as like functioning members of society. So what good is having something when you aren't even there?
So the way they're perceived, they're not perceived as really having a very substantial role. So I mean, because most of us think that they kind of suck, they suck because we kind of say that they do, right? Just like the home, like if you don't have a nice home, you're kind of looked at almost like halfway homeless. Like you got a really junky apartment. It's like, what's your problem? You can get a job, right? You get a nice house. These guys, apartment, they don't. They're not able to do anything.
Look at homeless, probably don't have food either.
A lot of them are overweight, though. How do they get so overweight? They don't have food.
Yeah, isn't it?
No motivation to exercise.
A lot of people love McDonald's. Apparently, according to the commercials, their catchphrase is "I love it" or something. So back to this kind of classroom, and back to working as opposed to just sleeping all day. We are trying to work for what purpose again? In the red set it and in the white?
Create your own utopia.
And your own utopia contains big houses? Well, yeah, what is it?
I don't even know what my utopia is. Like, it's good life, like that. Something that makes you happy. No, like I have a medium-sized house, but I have a great job, that I like, great professional job, have a good life, and I'll be happy with it. I don't think it's a huge house, and make me happy with it. Just whatever makes you happy makes your utopia.
So however you're happy.
Yeah.
Are you happy right now?
Yeah, this is my favorite class from all my things. So everything else is kind of
Oh, it's cultural relativism. I like it. What are you going to say?
I think that it's different because when we were at Sister I still I was thinking like society and not like design culture, so I think that it's like very different. I was trying to like look up stuff online and like just what I was really not to think about. And I don't really think that it's society is like possible. I don't really think that everything in the world.
And the reason, and I'll let you continue in a second, the reason that a societal utopia cannot exist is because his utopia is to play professional lacrosse, and his utopia is not to play professional lacrosse or have a wife. He doesn't want it. And you said you wanted a house too? He doesn't want a house. So because people's stuff is different, it can never exist because not everybody's the same.
Not everyone has the same. I'm sure that there are people out there who like they really truly want to be a couple and they don't want the house to be done, so they want to they're very
Does everybody obtain their dream? How many people obtain their dream?
There are a lot of things that are out of people's hands, so sometimes no matter how hard you work, there are just sectors you can't control.
Not physically able to, or mentally able to obtain their dream. But mentally able, maybe they get to college and they just can't handle it. They don't know the material or they can't learn it. But sociologists would say that's also social. But so that they don't graduate and they don't get a good job. Their dream was to make $50,000 a year, and they end up making $25,000. So do they consider themselves failures? What if you don't get a wife and a lacrosse job?
Well, I look at it, and like, that's what I want in life. If I don't achieve that, like, what's the point of working so hard to not achieve what I want to do?
Where did you get your work ethic? Yeah, this applies to everybody. Where did you all get your work ethic? I mean, you're here, as if you figured me out, you don't have to be here. Where did you get the ethic to come to class, to work hard, to strive towards the good job, to try to get the wife and house and all that stuff? Where did you get your work ethic? Yeah, it just came to your head though, did it? Like, do you have friends that influence you or family members?
No.
TV? You just randomly threw darts at a dartboard? Some people do that. What about you?
I did my work ethic from realizing that unless you can help yourself, you can't end up helping other people.
So you want to help other people? That's where what you're trying to get to?
I would say I was brought up, responsible. Like, your board's one better for me, they're showing me that what they have is
In what scale? So you say what they have is great, but you can do better.
like,
Does that
I
mean
can have a more enjoyable life after working so hard.
so working less?
Yeah, working less and enjoying life more. That I would rather do.
Things like what?
Things like
Playing lacrosse?
spend more time with family, travel more.
Again, the homeless guy, he spends all day with his family and he travels wherever he wants. Hitch a
I
ride
don't
on
see a
train.
homeless guy with his family. Why do you have a baby?
It's not hard to make.
I'll tell you where you should go doctor.
I live in a small town, you know, city.
If we go to Canada, if we have to.
I don't think it was just a single spot. I think it's like growing up the way you parents mold you growing up, and then when it comes down to who you are, it's
Who raised you? And who raised you? Your family, your school, your church?
right. Like your parents should like really show you that first, but then like let's say it's bad goes, let's say someone do like some type of athlete, but that's not goes up not wanting to be that athlete, then it's good that we can go towards that. Should not be bad.
The parents
Deviants.
the parents sometimes bothers me because me being I'm first generation college student and seeing like what my parents did, to me was an example of what not to do. So kind of on the flip side of it, I don't think my work ethic came from my parents necessarily. I think more it came from myself, seeing that these aren't the kind of things that I want to have to deal with, or I don't want to have to go through. So I'm gonna better myself for myself. And my grandma always told me that going to college, you have to be confident enough to make an investment in yourself. Is what going to college is.
So that's also a little deviance as well. Interesting dichotomy here, working for others, and you seem to be working towards your own goals. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's what motivates, right?
I was gonna say that I was gonna see like my parents, they have nothing. They did nothing to provide for failures, basically. So I see them as,
According to who?
they're not failures, but they're not as far as they want to be.
So according to themselves?
Yeah, so I see them as motivators because I want to do better. I don't want to be considered not a failure. So I see them as motivators, like she said, they don't motivate. They kind of do because she doesn't want to be like them. She wants to be better than them, so she pushes herself to be better. That's
Does anyone here watch rap videos? Hip hop? Guys that have shiny wristwatches
yeah.
and cars, right? They're flossing, in swag. You know what I'm talking about?
I agree with that.
I've been to a Lil Wayne concert, okay? And Rick Ross, although I do not like Rick Ross. No. Why, does anyone here want that stuff? Like, does anyone here want a nice wristwatch for a really sweet car?
All
I
right.
can handle a nice watch.
Want a nice watch, want a nice car. Why do you want a nice car? What kind of car do you want? Classic car.
Oh my god, yeah.
Material. Can't you just walk to and from class? You don't need that car, right? What else does people want? What else do people want in this class? Material possessions? Do the women like to shop? My girlfriend loves shopping. Michael Kors purse, shoes, the dog shoes. So you want a lot of vehicles. More than you need, you only need one, right? There's that famous line from Cribs, it's like, don't you only need one? Why does any guy need like 25 cars? I mean, do you all want material things, or you all kind of hippies? Right. Down with material goods. Culture is changing. Back to hippies.
Depends if you're intrinsically motivated or extrinsic.
If you want things, that means you are what?
If you want money, fame, and beauty, you're extrinsically motivated.
Tangible rewards,
Yeah.
extrinsic motivation.
If you want to feel success, like by helping people or something like that, that's intrinsic. That's what really should motivate somebody.
What is the American dream based on? Mostly, it's capitalist. It's extrinsically motivated. Accumulation of wealth is the American dream. One of the reasons that we get married is why. Get married, instantly double your income.
And it's not what to do.
That's one of the reasons. Is that two people at work that have two incomes, if they get married, they can not double their income. You can have twice as big of a house.
Not necessarily.
But like, in theory, if you both make 50,000, get together, you got 100,000. Right. That's one of the reasons people might get married. You're right. What are other reasons that people get married?
Well,
Share their life with someone.
Love and sharing their life. You don't have to get married though. We could hang out all the rest of our lives.
Part of their religion.
why?
Could be part of their religion.
Religious reason? So, yeah, that's kind of based on accumulation of wealth, health benefits. Yeah. So there are other reasons. Getting married, money, religion. Is it a social norm? The cultural, like you're crazy if you don't get married in some circles. My grandma, I don't think she watches it. Never been in my house. I've lived there for like 15 years. And, I live with my girlfriend. I think that's why she won't come over. Does anyone else live in that sort of scenario? Ultra religious grandma? And parents with disown you. To go further, maybe you might think this is further, maybe you don't. But if someone was come out as gay, maybe their parents wouldn't support that. And cultural norms are a strong thing. There are some people that actually are gay that get married because of the pressures of society. I'm not saying like everybody, but there are some people that do that. Some people. To think of that, you got to think of that sociologically in the way of people doing things that they don't necessarily want to do just because society tells them to do that. And going back to the utopian discussion, like, why do you want the car? Why do you want a 73 Chevelle? Why do you want to play lacrosse? Why do you want to get married? Why am I wearing a tie? You know, why do we do all these things? There's so much social influence and the pressure of living up to expectations, whether you think they're your own or you're aware of the possibility that they were instilled in you by other institutions like religion, social institutions, like your family, or your K-12 education system, or the small town that you grew up in, things that are culturally normal there, that you then seek to replicate. Just starting to think that our ideas of what's normal and what's perfect utopia may not necessarily be someone else's, or may not necessarily be actually perfect. And that leads into our discussion this week about poverty. If you're designing a utopia, would you put in poor people? Who here would put homeless poor people into your utopia? Like, if you're writing down your utopia, like you may have done this week, did anyone write down like 10 lines on it? There's definitely got to be some homeless people in it. You think the homeless people have to be in the utopia?
Like, I added in a laissez-faire kind of capitalist competition in the economy. So I suppose in a roundabout way I did add homeless people because, like, as Thomas and Alphys would say, you're going to end up with homeless people in a capitalist society. Whether it's, you know, just by their own personal failures, they made poor life choices, or if it's really because they have not the means to live otherwise.
Also, if you create a utopia, you can't control how other people act and think. So some people might choose to be homeless. Some people in society, they choose to be homeless because they don't want to live by the laws of society.
Some people, a lot of people in Flint are not choosing to be in poverty.
Yeah, a lot, majority aren't choosing, but some are.
So is there a way to create a utopia without poor people? Every utopia has to have poor people?
Unless you have something that's completely, you know, everyone is the same. That guy.
Communism and socialism? That's utopia? Don't say that too loud. But is that utopia if everyone's the same?
No.
So utopia has to have the incentive to work. There needs to be incentive to work. Is that such a bad thing if we all had the same stuff? There'd be no theft, right? If we all had one lawnmower in our garage, why would we steal our neighbor's lawnmower?
Mine broke.
Yes, bro.
You want two. You can get it done quicker with two.
All of these types of ideas exist in a capitalist society. But in a socialist society, your neighbor would probably loan you his lawnmower. You wouldn't need to get it done twice as fast. Everybody has the exact same stuff. There might even be somebody that mows everybody's yard. Free, all you have to get is some apples. So no matter what we do, we're always going to end up with poor people. That's true. Why that?
Billionaires and stuff, that's if I could tell you, I'd be like, no, cap.
So there's a cap on income.
Yeah, you can't have $1 billion, sorry.
If you work for your money, I don't think you should cap someone who's, really putting the work in. They've got a PhD and making that money. They work. If you want to get to that point, you should try to work the same way they do to get where they're at.
Tell me about work, though. I've worked delivering pizzas. I would work 7 to 3 at a car wash, and then I would work from 3 until 2 a.m. delivering pizzas. I made about $5 an hour with tips, maybe 10, just enough to make rent. So I worked harder than anybody to make less money than I do now, I think. So tell me more about what you mean by working hard to get money. She's talking about these guys that make millions and
I'm talking
billions.
about basketball players.
And I work. Basketball players do work.
They do work,
So
but
tell me,
it's not.
include basketball players, include pizza delivery guys, McDonald's workers, include college professors. What do you think it means to work to get towards money? Like, is this a system that we live in that rewards hard work at a car wash with enough money, or do we have something that's kind of, you have to figure it out and play the game to get the money, work smarter, not harder, or whatever? Like, can you elaborate a little bit more on what it means to kind of work hard to get good money?
Well, I think I kind of think about my dad when he came to this country, he was that much money. He started off working. He had really no type of education. He ended up, getting his high school diploma, went to college. Each time, through this process, he would do these smaller jobs, even though he felt like he wasn't getting one, he continued to put effort in, because he knew that down the long run, down the road, he was going to get to where he wanted to be. That also goes back to what he was saying, like, just because maybe you don't accomplish what you want, you don't feel you should be, you consider a failure. I don't just consider a failure because it's an ongoing process. You're always looking to improve yourself. So my dad, he finally got into college, he continued to work. He went to law school, continued, started going, he went to accounting school as a master's of that. He continued to build on from what he had before. As far as you said, people that are, blue collar people that are working hard every day, I feel a lot of those people, they're at where they're at because, they're satisfied with what they have right now. There's still more they can do that can be done for them to get. So if they want to be a millionaire someday, to get to that point, I think that's one thing wrong with our society. People, one, they're used to always wanting people to give things to them, not work for it, and they're satisfied with, where they're at right now. They don't see that vision of ongoing, all these, improvements.
Are you guys aware of what's happening in and around Detroit, Flint, a variety of cities nationally with McDonald's living wage kind of protests? You're aware of it in the back, can you kind of tell the rest of the folks that don't know about this news?
But McDonald's were saying that part of the $8 an hour, that's minimum wage, about 40 cents per hour. So saying their word. I haven't really heard anything else ongoing about it. I'm just sure that part. That's all I use. I know many people. They would like, hey, $15 an hour talking. I mean, I just sound like angry. I mean, I just think it's not working. It's someone for $8. You can easily train someone for a week, so working time. And I think a job like that is worth that type of thing. We're talking about other jobs, all these continuing jobs, going to school and getting PhDs and masters. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of spending. You go to McDonald's for a 5-hour shift, and you have the same thing. You're not really, I mean, you are learning something each day at McDonald's, but it's not worth, at least it's price of money. But if it's like that, something job, kind of thing. Some jobs are worth less, but it's not saying it's not fair to die.
All right. That was a great explanation. There has to be some comments.
I've got an issue with saying that people who work through school for long periods of time should be paid more than people who work. Because if you work for 10 years to get your PhD, you sat in a classroom, yes, you did work and you learned things. If somebody was out there being a garbage man for 10 years, making minimum wage, they're working and you're working, you're just different types of working, and you can't compare them. You can't say that one's less.
Yeah, who puts the value in dollars on what we get paid? Why does a McDonald's guy get paid $7 and I get paid $2,100? Like why? Isn't it way harder to work at McDonald's than what I do? I mean, come on, look, just like a clown up here, right?
From a strictly economical point of view, that would make sense enough to say that you want to pay, or to say you need to pay those kind of employees $15 an hour. I mean, the position, what they do is in extreme demand, so people will be willing to pay more for it. And besides, the McDonald's Corporation has copious amounts of money that they could easily pay them $15 an hour and still, be more than getting by. So does that kind of leave the question, if you have the money, should you give the money? Because like in my, utopian society, I was saying that you should, you can keep the money you earn and live comfortably as you want, but I think that you shouldn't live to excess, where you have these people who have 25 cars and so on and so forth. The money that is living beyond, a certain means, why should you have that money? That's not living, that's being obvious.
So you think McDonald's should make $15 an hour, right? Is that what I hear from you?
Yeah.
Roughly? So what do you think?
Truly, I think it's ridiculous. You think of an idea of McDonald's. First of all, are they satisfied with that? You don't have to go to college. Go out and get in a working program. You go for 6 months, and you start off making $25,000, $45,000. So do something like that. Or like you said, well, maybe you have that trash work. Or try to work yourself up the ranks so that maybe someday you can be the owner of that company. I mean, you hear these stories every day. It's like I said, it's an ongoing work ethic. No matter how you look at it, it's up to you. You have to make that decision that you're going to do what you have to do to get to that point. in life and where you're happy. I mean, that's just plain and simple. When you stay satisfied, you're satisfied with working at McDonald's and making that $7 an hour, you're gonna stay there.
Okay. If we were doing a sociological experiment just to plant this idea in your head, if you wanted to find out how many people, what percentage were satisfied, what would you do? If you wanted to find out how many people that worked at McDonald's were satisfied with their jobs, what would you do? Yeah, exactly. That's a sociological method.
I could see how people who work at McDonald's could think that they deserve $15 an hour because it's kind of like the same thing with sports players, like she was saying. There's a high demand for McDonald's, and people, they love McDonald's. There's a high demand to watch sports because it's a form of entertainment. And so it's kind of like the people are putting the money into the program. But the thing is, there's a difference because people who got to work at McDonald's didn't work hard like the people who got to be professional athletes.
When you're being paid for being a professional athlete, you're saying that you're being paid for the 20 years that you prepared for the job?
In addition to your...
So like when Justin Verlander gets a $150 million contract this year and he's terrible this year, really he's being paid for a couple years prior that got him up to this. Do you think that's a good?
Tony Romo got $105 million.
So why is Tony Romo worth $105 million, but we can't even get 15 into McDonald's?
He fills the seats.
It's an economic reason.
The skill set for McDonald's worker is very low, so that's why they're not going to pay that much. Now, for an athlete, your skill set is, you got to be one of the best athletes in the world to play at that level, and which you're going to bring all the money into anything, which drives you this.
But the fastest timer in the world doesn't get paid as much as Tony Romo.
The fastest type in the world gets paid a lot of money out there.
Yes.
If you're the best at something,
society, and if they're going to take more money from McDonald's, McDonald's going to expect the quality to go down and then on top of it. And McDonald's is going to bring down
So we're paying people millions to do their dream jobs, and we're paying people nothing to work the crappy jobs. Does that make sense? Well, what's our incentive though? So back to being happy, we want to work hard so that we can be paid millions to work our dream job. Why do we have McDonald's? Why do we have it? Why? Because you're paying by.
we're a big obese country.
Why do we want to go eat? Why does everyone want to eat McDonald's?
Yeah.
Exist?
It's easy.
Yeah, convenient, cheap,
Ask.
and taste.
What? It does not taste good.
Some majority people would disagree with that. I would argue on that.
That McDonald's thing and just coming back to the project of billions of dollars.
Yeah.
The thing that I don't understand is how we can, this is just about Team Mom. Team Mom really bothers me because we are paying these girls thousands of dollars to watch their lives. And they made a not traditional choice. Whether it's good or bad, that's your decision. But a non-traditional choice, and we're paying millions of dollars to just watch their lives.
So you don't think we should pay Team Mom that much?
No way.
You don't think we should pay McDonald's people that much? Everybody likes the fact we pay Tony Romo a lot.
No.
I understand why people get paid millions of dollars, because everyone on the planet loves entertainment, but it's not what runs our economy. That's why the U.S. economy is going down right now, because those crappy jobs, no one wants to work there. And those are the jobs that run the economy. Everyone, that's a necessity for everyone. Food, no matter if it's crappy or good, it's still a necessity. Picking up garbage, no one's up garbage, there's garbage everywhere.
So, let's expand on that point. Would you agree with me that America is in place because we are trying to build a utopia in a sense? Are we not trying? Isn't that what we're trying to all do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're here to do. Whether you're working for other people or working for yourself, we're trying to make this the best place we think it can be, right? So we try to make this the best place it could be by paying athletes a lot of money because we love entertainment. So we place value in entertainment, and the only way we know how to reciprocate value is with cash. And so we said, we like that, so I'm going to reward that with cash. Cash, which is a symbol of the hard work that I did to watch you. And what happened? What are we going through now? We put value in the wrong things. And now we're a service-based economy where we don't have products anymore. So we're reverting back. Did we just do it wrong? Should we have paid producers like McDonald's people more money? Because we paid athletes money. If we would have kind of shifted our values to people that make stuff and build stuff, even that sell shirts that we buy at Walmart for $5, in sweatshops, if we would have placed value away from entertainers onto producers, would we be in a better place right now?
Well, all right, I would say so. Well, okay, then it might just flip flop the opposite way. We might be saying, well, why are these McDonald's people getting paid millions of dollars when these athletes over here are working so hard?
And the justification would be because we need to eat. Isn't that what we just said? We need a convenient way to eat.
Yeah,
It's
but
very important to us.
when we have jobs like yours, for example, you say that you don't do it for the money. That you make very little money for this. So, but you do it because you just love to do it. You love, hearing us do whatever it is we do. In any case, I'm saying then these athletes, why should we reciprocate with money? Why can't it be enough for them to be happy that they're making people happy? Why do they need all that money?
Why can't they just want it for the sport and that's what it is?
Yeah, why don't they?
Yep. Well, I support that statement. Because then you have athletes that do it for the love of the game. They do it because there's no better job than to just get up and play football. Though the person that did the millionaire, throws his contract in their face and says, hey, I'll give you this incentive. That's something different. Those are two different. I don't think just because of the money. Yes, you have people that do it just for the money, and then you do have those people that do it for love of the game, but they're just rewarded for doing it. What you're gonna tell someone, a millionaire, how to spend his money? He wants to spend his money on paying his athletes perform. Let's hope that.
On the topic of athletes, their job is different. They go and they do games and they go to practices, but their job's not over. They go home and they work out and they have to stay in shape and they have to keep up their abilities for years. And the job itself is more likely to result in a serious injury. They make lots of money because they are constantly at risk. If you're working at McDonald's, the chances of you getting a serious injury, that's your own fault. And
Hands are hot.
for the athletes, they generally aren't going to have that job their entire life. You could work at McDonald's for 60 years. You could. It's easy. But you can't necessarily be a professional athlete for, say, generally over a decade. You reach a certain age and you're unable to keep up with the incoming athletes, the younger, the newer, and you're out of a job, and you've done nothing but sports your entire life. You're out of a job and you've got nowhere else to go.
That's a lot.
So you think it's a fair system, the way it is?
I don't think it's entirely fair, but I think some of it is partially justified.
Okay.
It might be overall.
I'm just kind of with people who have to keep up their okay, people in the military, they're risking their life in an extremely way different way than anybody ever will in sport, or firefighters, police officers. Many of those people, they're putting their life on the line every single day and they don't get paid crap.
Thanks for bringing that up. Shouldn't soldiers, police officers be paid then?
I do. I mean, any.
So tell me why we don't pay them.
I have a brother who maybe not
Okay, great, good for him. I've never heard. That's good.
I don't understand why firefighters don't have to pay a lot, but for police officers, not a lot of people like police officers. They all, I hate police officers. They always do that. They always do that. They always do that. They pull you over the street. But at the end of the day, even though they try to keep you safe, there's always those cops that are just out, they're just power hungry. So they always just my friend the other night got on gun to his head, and the cop thinks he's lying to him. But like, how is he lying about that? So he's kind of like throwing his thing out the window. So like, why is my friend gonna pay more money to that, put money in that guy's car, and he didn't help him out?
Well, we have athletes that we don't like, right? I can't stand Johnny Manziel.
Oh, come on, man.
Johnny football. But there's a lot, and when you go to a football game, like I went to a game at Yankee Stadium. I can't stand the Yankees, but I gave them all my money. So don't we readily just throw our money around to sports athletes that we don't like? Just
you like the Yankees
Well, that was-
team, right?
not like the Tigers.
But you
You
did
like
that.
Tigers,
Yeah,
but
you
like
did.
Tigers, but like you generally don't like the police force. So like the police force is like a one big team where you like the Tigers, where you put all your money into the Tigers, and you don't spend any money on the
So
Yankees.
essentially, what you're saying is people do not see the value of police, right?
Then you're not seeing the
They
value.
do, but they don't like it at the same time. No one likes to be controlled like all the time. You know what I mean?
Why don't we just stop the
Only
police?
one
Why don't we just go no police?
That's only one.
Yeah, why don't we do anarchy? So like I asked, what's your utopia? Nobody said anarchy.
Oh, that one movie with the thing and the thing at night.
Sorry,
The
what?
bird, man. It would be like that. You were crazy. Yeah, whenever.
So the Purge was a utopia?
That's so crazy. Have you seen that movie?
I just know.
You need to see it.
I think that the deal with cops and not liking cops, I think it's the same with teachers. Like a lot of people don't like teachers. They sign us forward and we don't want to do it. But you're essential if we want to learn. Cops are essential to protect us.
Never thought of myself like a cop before. You're brilliant.
And another thing is that, like, if it was on the flip side and we did pay cops millions of dollars, people would say, well, there's thousands of cops that just sit in the street and do absolutely nothing all day. Why am I paying them millions of dollars?
Oh, yeah, there'd be some conflict there.
Yeah.
Conflict.
So it's kind of,
I'd still rather
Kinda hard to
pay
find.
$5 million than.
I think though, we complain all the time about, politicians and, say basketball players making tons and tons of money saying that, money eventually does corrupt. So why in the world would we want to pay the best people in the world who are doing the jobs we don't want to do? Why would we want to give them all that money and then they end up becoming terrible people? Maybe that's not always the case, but money is just, it seems like it's a means to an awful end.
Should everybody be in poverty then?
No.
I think some people in poverty are the most like, I want to say like, I don't know, it's kind of bad. Right, but like, some people probably have like the best outfit in all the public.
see, that could be a perfect utility that you just read out.
Oh my God, he wants the first stop.
We see this.
All right.
Be different, but we can keep.
We'll take a little break. This was a very lively discussion. I really appreciate it. We'll take a break. I've got some slides. I want to go a little bit through some of our core concepts in the blog. I'll leave you with one thought, though. Why don't you take a little break? 7:03, by the way. You like 12 minutes, right? You all, do you guys know, so we're talking about poverty today. Do you know who the person in the most poverty is right now, perhaps, in this room? Me, right? You know that?
Yeah.
Who's the full? Weird, isn't it? You know my net worth? You guess? You do money, right?
10,000. I have no idea. What do you gotta do money?
Yeah, I went to school a lot, right? I've been around the block. So, how come I'm the poorest person? You know, really worth? No. But yeah, I don't look like I'm the poorest person. How are you? No, yeah.
We're accumulating that. Don't play. We are accumulating that right now.
Yeah, but you all, nobody here is as broke as me. But I'm the one that looks like that. Isn't that a weird concept?
I have zero.
Not really. You got
We'll be there someday, don't feel bad.
They were like, I'd buy you snacks. I have a pretty nice house in the yard. I like my car. It's pretty sweet. I could pretty much, I could go anywhere I wanted right now. I could just like hop on a plane and go to Hawaii. I could kind of do anything I wanted, but I'm literally the poorest person in this room.
You have to pay the mortgage.
So just think about that. Go take a break and we'll come back and talk.
Have you paid off your student
Job today. It is psychologically difficult to be a professor. Put your heart and soul in it, and then only 8 people show up at the last class. I worked a lot on the material. It's not for the money, as I mentioned last week. But the first 2 weeks, I noticed, are pretty out there, philosophical, theoretical material. So you come class the first 2 weeks, I think, kind of trying to become acquainted to your surroundings, and then you get the actually heaviest part of the material. So it might fly over your head, and I think maybe I could adjust my teaching plan a little bit better that way. Kind of tiptoeing, a little bit softer, maybe you're not ready for such material. If you read the blog, I think you probably know what I'm talking about. It's a little bit out there. But then it comes together later in the semester. It becomes a lot more practical. Like I said last week, you can write on anything you want. So I really want you to pick the most important thing to you and write about that. That's also why I don't understand why people don't get to me. Even if it's about, even if you like sleep, you could write about sleep. But nobody wants to come learn about sleep. Do it. We're trying to figure that out. A class where you can do anything you want. People don't teach you anything. It's strange. Kind of like America. Theoretically, you can do anything you want. But nobody does. People tend to just get $35,000 a year jobs and coast through life. And go home after work, drink a couple beers till they fall asleep, get up the next day and do it over again. And I don't know, somebody's got us tricked. We might talk about that today. But the first thing that we want to talk about is the schedule. I forgot how much I lose track of the schedule because truthfully I'm so wrapped up in the material. I usually forget where we're at. And sometimes I'll come to class and I know it's small. Sometimes I'll come to class and you'll have something due or the next week, and I'll totally forget. So you have to remind me, which is kind of fun. Students reminding the professor what stuff to do. It's a good reversal of roles. We talk about roles in this class. Sociology class is one of the few places where you can actually reverse the roles, and you have the power to determine your future. But I thought about this fact that 5th week is a little bit, this says abstract, be your first writing assignment, due or started. That's kind of late. I'd like to start it a little bit earlier. I'm planning to have a guest speaker next week, either in person or by Skype, from outer space, from Red Bull. You know, remember that? Yeah. You can see how many people were watching that. It's the same setup, minus the sweet cameras, parachute, and spaceship. Yeah, I just think sometimes people just get a little bit too lost souls that prioritize on sleep over class. Only 2.5 hours. I mentioned to somebody, I drove 2.5 hours to get here. 2.5 hours is nothing when you're old. But, a day is nothing. But, what was I going to say? Okay. Something about how important this class is. Oh yeah. When I was in college, I would stay up all night, get very sleepy the next day, but I'd always go. I think you get something out of going. You know? You just stay at home and play video games or whatever. You can do that when you're retired. Or when you're retired, it's more fun. Have you ever been to a senior center or watched elderly people play Wii bowling? You'll get this smiles on their face. Well, I hope that you get something out of this class. I think it's, I explained to someone at my other, who's going to come in and talk to us about publishing. So you probably have noticed that I said last week I get jacked up. I get jacked up for the semester. And so what I've done is I've tried to shape the semester on publishing a book, right? I mentioned that last week. And so it just so happens that I'm acquainted with a publisher. It just so happens. And he was like, yeah, I would like to publish your students' work. And I said, that would be cool. You should come in next week and talk to him. He said, cool. So I'm hoping that he will come and talk to you. He's also a motivational type speaker. So he can give you some insight as to a lot of things, not just publishing. So keep your sights set on publishing your work, actually, for this semester. I think it would be super cool to be published in your first semester. I've never been published. So week 5 for the abstract is a little bit late. Week 2. I'm going to move that up. It might come in next week. The guest speaker will talk to you about writing, hopefully, and we can talk about getting the process started so that maybe we can actually have the abstracts cranked out by week 4. They're not hard. An abstract is a half a page. And then also in week 4, we're going to have the students start with this method. And the last week, there'll be like 8 people. Fascinating. Why do you think that is?
Because they figure you out.
They figured me out. I'm not smart. There's a, you figured me out as in week 1. Yeah, I hope. That you're smarter than me. Why do you think there's only 8? They don't care? What do you care? What would the most people care about in college? Sleep. You pay that much money to go and sleep. If you were homeless, I guarantee you could sleep all you want. I went to New York City. I saw all these people in Central Park. It's just a beautiful park. You sleep all day long. You do not have to pay this much money. So why do people pay so much money to not come to class? What am I missing?
Take advantage of the watching that classroom or outside.
Oh yeah, we're streaming right now. I got a better setup too, better angles. Makes me look a little bit thinner. But I hope that they take advantage of that. I don't think it occurred to my other schools though.
Do you have someone watching that?
Yeah, I think so. I remember I've never checked because I'm so focused on the But when I watched the guy jump